In Kengan Ashura, Kuroki Gensai was the strongest. Right now in Kengan Omega, it's Shen Wulong. In the past, we had other monsters like Oma's Master, Tokita Nico, and even someone like Prime Kureiryo. Therefore, what is the real top 30 strongest of all time in the Kengan universe? Yes, this includes placing people like Korin, Kanaragito, Tokita Oma. Today on the Mysterious Chad channel, we will be discovering the truth. So I'll be going over this ranking throughout today's stream, whether it's accurate, top 30 strongest of all time within the Kengan Ashura to Kengan Omega story, as we have no Fist of the Seeker characters here. No Fu, true, my, embodiment in the Kengan story. There's him with the goggles on. Bro was able to fight on an even playing field with Lolong. Alright, so number one, the connector Wulong. Most people should agree with this. I have noticed on TikTok, surprisingly, maybe I'll do a future stream reacting to some of the Kengan TikToks, but a lot of people on there believe Kuroki is the strongest, not just because they're like anime onlys or something like that. People who've read Omega and just, can't read and view the narrative that Shen is stronger than Kuroki. Like, yes, they clashed. Kuroki was confirmed by Wulong as not going all out. But while that's said, Wulong just wasn't using half of his body, which I believe is more of a flex or nerf. No techniques, no nothing. Bro was just vibing. So, Shen Wulong number one. I think that's 100% accurate. People who disagree just haven't read the series. So far so good. But Shen Luhan. So personally, I see why he can be placed here. There are some arguments, but I completely disagree. I low-key believe he's fodder in the story and is going to completely fail his plan. Like, not even close. I think Luhan is like a troll. A troll character in the series at this point. I wouldn't even rank him in the top 10. People argue because he was able to survive an attack from potentially serious Shen and like the narrative stuff that he's the closest to Shen, that he said stuff like that. But with all that said, we have Wulong who like loves shitting on Luhan. Wulong said that Luhan is the closest to him. He wasn't talking about power. He didn't well, we don't know what he was talking about, but he didn't specifically say power. But at a later point, after revealing to us that he wants an equal like the Tiger Shen within himself, he says that Kuroki is the closest to what he wants, an equal, a fight going all out, which naturally would mean that Shen views Kuroki as more impressive or stronger than Luhan, as an example. So with that, I wouldn't have Luhan number 2. I wouldn't have him in the top 10, honestly. That's just me personally, the number 1 hater, but I guess we'll see in the future of the story. Kuroki at number 3, I would say is fine, mostly based on Wulong's statement he made of him. Without that, it gets very controversial. Like, without that statement, Kuroki doesn't belong here. With that statement, you can argue it. So yeah, Kuroki number 3, number 2, around that range is fine. The grandfather of Mukaku. So I believe he was respected by the previous version of Shen, who may or may not be the tiger version, we don't know. Was regarded as an absolute monster. Probably belongs up here. Is he stronger than Kuroki? We can't say for certain. Like, there's just no way to say whether, he was able to wound Shen. Well, Kuroki was also able to wound Shen as well, but we can't say whether he's stronger than Kuroki. I'll say he probably is, but again, we can't say. So him being there below Kuroki is fine. Then we have Yan. So I'm guessing this is based off the statement that Shen made when fighting Mukaku that Mukaku's probably like Yan level. Something along the lines of that. I don't remember the exact statement. I could pull it up. I think it's something like that. So that can be interpreted as Yan being stronger than Gilbert and the Tiger Nico. Or it can also be interpreted that these two are stronger than him and that Yan is the weakest of those closest to Shen. That's another thing that's up to interpretation. After that point, we did have Yan kinda show confidence in fighting or even killing Gilbert, which is impressive and would add to that narrative. So Yan could be here, but I think it's more fair to say Yan, Gilbert, and the Tiger Nico should be together on any tier list. At least right now. But to be fair, Mukaku was placed within that range. And you could say that was maybe due to the insane prep time he did for his fight against Shen. But even with all that, he got embarrassed. Mukaku did get a lot of hype from Omar, who's like calling him a monster that he wants nothing to do with. And Mukaku was low-key beating up Omar, Koga, and Retsudo all at the same time. Meaning regardless of his old age and all that, he's still an absolute monster. So he's probably around this range. There's a lot of arguments whether Mukaku is stronger than Kuroki. People bring up the statement that Shen made that Kuroki is the strongest he's met in Japan to argue that Kuroki is stronger than Mukaku, but if we remember, Shen first met Mukaku in the past when they were in China, so maybe that statement doesn't relate, so up to interpretation. Is a nerfed Shen stronger than a half body not trying Shen? Like, we don't know. You could say a lot of these guys after Shen interchangeable based on perspective. I mean, if you're going to interpret the Yan statement as Yan being stronger than Mukaku, like I believe he did say probably, you would have to maybe put Gilbert and the Tiger Nico above Mukaku as well. No, he didn't. Let me have a look. I think it's this one. Okay. So when fighting Mukaku, he says, "You're strong, I admit it. I assume only a handful of the people close to me would be able to beat you." So a handful of the people close to him. We know there's only 5 people close to him in the story. Yan would probably make the cut. So he did say probably. So with this statement, I interpret it as Gilbert and the Tiger Nico, and maybe even Fu, but maybe not him, are stronger than Yan. Because he mentions that I assume only a handful of those close to him. There's only a few characters close to him, as I mentioned. And then Yan would probably make the cut. To me, that's like saying, yeah, Tiger Nico, Gilbert could probably take you out. Maybe Yan as well. That's how I view this statement. What do you guys think? I mean, if we're gonna take a statement from someone, I think taking it from Wulong in regards to how strong a character is probably better than taking it from someone else. So with all that said, some changes could occur, but depends on perspective and interpretations. It's not exactly clear, 100% proven. Gilbert above Edward, correct. I think we're being told 6 times at this point that Gilbert is indeed stronger than Edward. And now when it comes to his mentality, he's also getting to that level as well. So Gilbert above Edward, 100%. The Tiger Nico. So a lot of people are hating on the Tiger Nico of recent due to his performance against Kiryu. But need to remember that in that fight, especially the early stages, Nico wasn't really taking him serious. He was more worried about his drink than anything. And then once he started fighting, he was just like goofing around with some Nico style techniques. And by that point, he was caught off guard by Kiryu's combination with the Koei and Gaia style, which allowed him to land pretty devastating blows, and then eventually off-screened Kiryu, who was pretty much giving the fight everything he had with kill intent and everything. So with that, people thought Nico was weak, but he off-screened him after transforming. It didn't seem like he sustained additional damage upon transforming, but we can't say for certain. So, with all that said, Nico still belongs here with the before mentioned like Shen statement about Mukaku and all that. So, I'll say so far, what's that? 6, 7, 8, 9. The top 9 are fine. You could make changes in placement. I'll personally take out Luhan completely, but that's just my perspective. Not everyone agrees on that. But people will be agreeing in the future. Mark my words. Now we have Howard Wu here. So he's only here because his character profile statement, which I don't remember what it exactly said, so let me pull it up. It's kind of hard to read, but the younger brother of Edward, same blade style as Long Min. Something about his sword speed. He's more skilled than Long Min at the sword style that they use. If he was at the situation where Edward was fighting the Kurei, the end would have been very different, meaning he probably would have collapsed the Kurei with Edward. I think Gilbert said he could have lost to Howard if it was in Edward's body. Oh, I think I remember now. It was Gilbert was fighting Howard and then he rejuvenated. I don't think we got that explained what that meant, but I think he got all the memories and all the stuff from Edward, and that's what allowed him to defeat Howard, which some people view as it required the stronger version of Gilbert to defeat Howard compared to what it would be Edward. So with that, let's imagine he's relative to Edward or maybe slightly weaker, probably slightly weaker because he's a sword goon. So below Edward is fine. Above Kurei Ryan currently is probably fine, but I'm imagining that's going to change very soon, or once we do get Ryan fighting Gilbert, considering that's the next thing for Ryan to do in the story. If Ryan is going to be relative to current Gilbert, he'll need to be stronger than Howard, he'll need to be stronger than Edward, and maybe stronger than the Tiger Nico unless he's getting stronger. But for right now, the current story, because this was completed, when was this posted? 1 day ago. So yeah, for right now, this is fine. It's probably going to change soon. And then we have Omar after Ryan. That's also fine. For example, Lolong's character profile claimed that during the Purgatory arc, Lolong, Omar, and Ryan are pretty much exactly equals. They can defeat one another depending on the day, various other circumstances, stuff like that. Since then, Ryan has gone through his Giga training arc, so Ryan above makes most sense. Ryan has been above Omar for most of Omega so far, so him still being the case makes the most sense. Omar's currently training with Kuroki, with Wulong being there, which is going to result in an insane amp when he does return, and for what we know, he could be the one fighting Wulong in a Kengan match, which is going to highlight Omar's improvements, so him also here is completely fine. Him being above his master is also something I agree on, which I'll go over soon, but Kurei Iro being down here is quite sus. But in short, the top 12 outside of Luhan are mostly agreeable. Nothing insane. Now we have rank 13 to 18. So we have Kano and Lolong here. If you guys don't know, shortly in Kengan Mega, we're going to be getting this fight in round 2 of the champion tournament. It's going to be crazy. Kano, yes, lost against Jirota, but then had a fight with Yarn and then got stronger in the story, defeating Julius like low difficulty, showing his monstrous improvements. So Kano being above Jirota again, considering Jirota's lost against Yalang, is likely the case. So Kano here, Lolong here, we're going to see the outcome of that fight very soon. So right now, these two here are fine. Being below Ryan and Omar is fine. But that's where the tier list or the ranking ends when it comes to being good, you could say. This is where we have issues. Faye below Lolong, I actually agree with. A lot of people are low-key delusional and think Faye is like stronger than Edward and stuff like that. If you look at the narrative of that arc, it was once again just used to hype up the Tiger Nico. Faye was a pawn for Nico to learn more about the Nico style and, as he said, evolve his Nico style more. Something that he's been using every character at this point to accomplish. So Faye, yes, was this crazy prodigy, was able to learn all these Nico style techniques, including the Divine Demon. But with all of that, he was incapable of defeating Wakatsuki, so too bad, mate. He's also lacking pre-initiative, which is confirmed as like the ultimate power in Kengan. Hanafusa is an interesting one. The author in Ashura hyped up his virus, and then he's like the ultimate weapon of the Kengan Association that could deal with Wulong due to these viruses again. So Hanafusa is like rank 0 type character. Breaking the tier list. Transcended beyond. So Faye below these guys, considering like top tiers like Kano, Lolong, Ryan and Omar are getting stronger right now. And even like the worm guys such as Gilbert is the stronger version of Edward. We're getting stronger characters introduced or growing in the story, making a dead character like Faye kinda becoming more and more irrelevant. So, fine placement does not go any higher. Oma's master, Tokita Nico. So, quick reminder of the lore. In his flashback, he had to fight a 16-year-old, I believe, 100% advanced up Oma, where it's confirmed he got injured in that fight, but he probably wasn't going serious and was focusing on stopping Oma. Then right after that, we had the Tiger Nico pull up. Their fight was apparently high difficulty, but Oma's master was capable of defeating the Tiger Nico. And then right after that, we had Kiryu's other master, the friend of Kuroki, Genzan pull up, where the Tiger Nico, where Oma's master had another high difficulty fight where he was killed. So, where was I? Yeah, so that's how Oma's master died. If you consider that during that time, which I believe was like 20 or like 15 plus years ago, looking at the timeline, Oma's master had a high difficulty fight with the Tiger Nico. You would think after 15 plus years, the Tiger Nico would have surpassed him at this point. And even someone like Oma narratively would need to be stronger than his master if he's ever going to fight the Tiger Nico or Shen Wulong or be like relevant at all. With all that in mind, you would have to place the Tiger Nico above Oma's master now. It just makes logical sense. Is he below Faye though? Could be an interesting matchup. I would low-key put Oma's master above, just because bro's cooler, we all know, but who knows. One thing big is the power progression. Now we have Kure Irio, which I believe is the first big issue. So within the story itself, he says if he was in his prime, Edward would be like no difficulty for him, which is insane hype for Prime Irio. But then we get that clarified in Edward's character profile, which I'll pull it up for you guys to read if you're interested. But to keep it short, Edward's character profile more so states that if Edward was to fight Prime Irio, the fight would more so be like either way type of thing. They're extremely relative to one another. Where's the exact statement? So first, Sandrovich writes that the statement I mentioned before about Irio being able to low diff Edward was just his subjective opinion. Until they actually fight, which we know they can't, this result is inconclusive. So considering he clarified that, most people are going to assume it's like saying Irio relative to Edward. But you could also say he's weaker, but with all things considered, I think it's more likely to say he's relative to equal or relative to Edward, and would be cooler considering he's the first Fang and all that other stuff we got for him. So Irio being like around here, weaker than Gilbert, I think makes the most sense, even on like a narrative level, considering what he said about Kuro Ryan, that Ryan has like the potential to surpass even his prime. If Prime Irio is equal to Edward Wu, and Gilbert is stronger than Edward Wu, and Ryan has the potential to surpass Irio's prime, it only makes sense for that to work out perfectly, so Irio needs to go higher. Gao Lang does belong here, does not belong any lower. We saw what he did against Dorota. He's probably still the best striker in the universe, outside of like Shen Wulong, whatever stuff. He's the Foresight Killer, which is outright confirmed now. So Gao Lang is a monster. For all we know, he could be winning the champion tournament and will be facing probably Lolong or Kano in the final. I don't think many people believe he's going to lose against Justin. So with that said, I think it's safe to say Gao Lang belongs here. I know people are going to disagree, but people are just lacking the reading comprehension, I guess. A lot of this is probably based on perspective, like we can't really say for certain for a lot of these guys. Kiryu performed insanely well against the Tiger Nico, so much so that people just view the Tiger Nico as fodder now, without considering the possibility of Kiryu just being that guy. Gao Lang the second strongest, yeah. Some people argue that, especially during the Purgatory tournament days, which, you know, low-key connects to the recent reveals about him being the Foresight Killer, but Gao Lang being faster than Carlos's pre-initiative, and then having the attack power to break through Kano's indestructible, and then being the best skilled striker, stuff like that, is the main argumentation. So Kiryu, I guess, could go here, I guess could go lower. We can't really say. I do like him here because his performance against Nico was insane. Dorota, maybe being done dirty here, but it does make sense considering, yes, he defeated Kano, but then Kano got stronger, and then he got like mid difficulty defeated by Gao Lang. So Dorota perhaps falling off for a bit now, and I don't think he's going to be fighting anytime soon, so it's unfortunate. Yeah, Dorota highs and lows, that is true. Koga doesn't break into the top 30, mate. Yeah, Dorota could be stronger than Kiryu, or like defeat him in a fight, But then you could also say Kiryu would perform better against stronger characters than what Jurota would, due to the unpredictable nature of his Koei and now Gaia style combinations. I think this is fine. Wakatsuki, bro should have been in the champion tournament. I think everyone agrees we could have removed Justin, the goon he fought, and then Ramon, and had Wakatsuki in there and make the tournament like 10 times better. He's probably gonna, rise again in the new Annihilation tournament. Faye, who a lot of people love to wank, literally had to kill himself and still didn't win against Wakatsuki, so you gotta respect him in that regard. On top of all of that, Wakatsuki, for what we knew, or for what he knew, thought Oma was dead after Kengan Ashura, and then over those 2 years, for some unknown reason, he was working on Nico-style tactics for someone who was dead. But then it was revealed that Oma was alive. And then on top of that, he was facing a Nico-style user in his first returning fight to the series, Faye. So with all that said, Wakatsuki maybe has the best foresight or pre-initiative in the whole universe. And will probably be rising up, the ranks once we do get his future fights. Surpassing the likes of Faye due to narrative progression of power, stuff like that. So, give respect to Wakatsuki. He may be in a low point right now due to not doing anything, but his return will be amazing. Julius, for a long time, I loved, but we all know that the stronger version of Kano recently absolutely clapped him, which is unfortunate and does make arguing for Julius a lot harder now, which is unfortunate to say, but it is the case. His Gottota still could be a problem for a lot of people and does belong on this tier list still, but he can't go any higher. Then we have Lu Tien. So he's a weird one. People love to shit on him because Akoya killed him with the flashlight. But I think it was pretty clear that at that point, Luhan had messed himself up and wasn't where he was during the Purgatory tournament. Bro had bandages and was already sweating before the fights began. Half his body is still removable. Bro was messed up. But back during the Purgatory fight, his perfect formless would definitely be a problem for a lot of people. But will continue to fall off with power progression, so he's not going any higher than this, and probably all these guys will end up surpassing him once they have more fights, which is just how it works. The unfortunate nature of being a dead character that isn't from so far in the past where they have an insane feat like this dude against a previous version of Wulong. Ray. So a lot of people were talking before about Ray being over Hatsumi. So funny enough, they returned in the Purgatory tournament together and were training together with the Wu clan over the time skip. Which I guess is saying they're relative to one another. People can interpret it as that. When it comes to their showings, Ray, you could say, was impressive during the Inside arc, but Hatsumi kinda didn't perform as well as people wanted against Canada. But with that said, he has now unlocked pre-initiative, the ultimate power, and Ray, for what we know, hasn't. Though Hatsumi could be above Ray, but this isn't like a tier list. This is also just a ranking on a tier list, if that makes sense. It's not like SA. They're not different tiers apart. They're 2 placements away, which of course most people would agree Hatsumi and Ray on the same tier. So the exact placement you could argue for. I would probably place Hatsumi above him. But coming back down here, Toa, bro has like low-key version of the Nico style with, you know, Julius level power, which is crazy. If he does fight like one of these characters at some point, like he fights Ray or something, he's definitely going to be a problem. And it's kind of hard, like when you take a step back and look at Toa on paper, how overpowered he is, to rank him like not higher. But we know Lolong was able to defeat him. We don't know the difficulty range, but people assume it was low difficulty. So yeah, Toa's hard to rank, I'll say. On paper, insanely broken. Performance in the series for what we've seen, not so much. But yeah, him going there is fine. Misasa, the current Fang of Metsudo. So he's the master of Retsudo, the son of Metsudo and the leader of the extermination force. Misasa was the one who trained him, so it's likely the case, considering he's also the current Fang, that Misasa is indeed the strongest person part of Metsudo's current army, because Kano is technically part of it, but not directly, and Kano is confirmed as the strongest Fang. And most people agree that Kano is above Misasa, but yeah, I think he's fine here. I can't wait for a future fight against someone like Ray, someone like Wakatsuki, someone like Hatsumi. It would be very impressive to see something like that. So Misasa here is fine. Mutaba, goated character, but somewhat, you know, dependent on the circumstances. I like that he's here. I'm trying to think what other character could replace these three at the bottom. Some would argue Naden belongs in here, apart from, you know, where is he? Where's my goat? There he is. Apart from Fu, you know, he definitely belongs on the tier list. Considering what he demonstrated against Lolong, he's probably like around, you know, this tier. But he was using a weapon, so maybe not. Carlos below Lu Dong, I would probably switch. Carlos is a confirmed pre-initiative user and one of the fastest characters. Lu Dong could defeat Carlos if he's in like prime crazy peak condition, whatever you want to call it for Lu Dong, but any other situation I'll be betting on Carlos, particularly for the future. I think Carlos is going to surprise a lot of people. But other characters that could replace people on this list, we have Cosmos Master and Joji that could potentially replace people. Some people are misinformed that Joji could fight Wulong. Another thing I saw on TikTok, which is, you know, don't know what's going on that platform, but people think Joji's just as strong as Wulong due to them not wanting to fight each other because like they're friends. But if we use Fist of the Seeker stuff, Joji is indeed a monster. He's the pinnacle of Rokushin karate in the story. The uncle of, you know, Koga, the protagonist. So Joji probably belongs in this tier list. You could kick out one of these guys, place him even around like that, this block, top 20. Cosmos Master is probably weaker than Joji, but for all we know could belong in here as well.